Hey, good evening, Crime Crunchies. Thank you so much for joining me. I am your host, Courtney C., a 27-year veteran of the media, and I am so happy to be able to bring you Crime Crunchies. All right. Woohoo. It's Wednesday, July 1st, if you're watching the live. If not, you are in the future on the replay crew. Wowie zowie. So we have some conflicting information that has come out today about the notes. I'm not convinced either way. We're going to be, my main thing tonight was really just doing some analysis of three major theories behind the Nancy Guthrie kidnapping / murder, and really to take a look at whether it was monetarily focused or emotionally focused. And we're going to just kind of dive in and swim around a little bit on all of those things. Hey, Alpha Wolf, let me turn this down a little bit. I got some flashing stuff. And we will take a look at some of the articles about, hey, J-Dub, we will take a look at some of the articles about the ransom notes, because that's very important, that they even exist. But again, I'm not convinced either way. But first, we have a sponsor tonight. You know who tonight's sponsor is? Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos. His mayonnaise. He has his own brand of mayonnaise, guys. His mayonnaise is super globby, heat sensitive. He can drive it around all day long in his Corvette. It's ergonomically, he can buckle that in right there with his Corvette. He likes to make sandwiches with Chris Nanos mayonnaise. Again, is our sponsor of tonight's show. All right, let's dive in. Of course, I'm making up these sponsors because why not? All right, so we're going to dive into first, let's talk about the wrench attack, okay? And I want to take a look at, I don't have anything visual on this. We're just going to kind of talk through wrench attack, because the issue with this entire situation is nothing has made sense. It hasn't followed a pattern. We're going to assume that the FBI doesn't have a suspect, because that's all we know at this time. But with a wrench attack, of course, it's basically a new type of crime that's been increasing, and it's trying to get people's either their Bitcoin password or force them to give money and to Bitcoin wallets, because it's supposed to be a little bit more, I guess, not encrypted, but I guess it's harder to track. Okay. And so what people are doing is the wrench attack goes back to, I guess, the origination is a cartoon where literally somebody was hitting someone with a wrench. And we have seen cases where folks will go in to the actual Bitcoin owner and beat them until they give them the passcode. But we've also seen wrench attack by proxy, where they've taken a family member. They can kidnap the family member, they can torture, they can kill the family member in order to get the Bitcoin owner to give up the passcode or transfer the Bitcoin, okay? And so in this case, this theory is that Nancy would have been a wrench attack by proxy. And we're thinking that Savannah, being worth about $46 million, would have been the owner of Bitcoin, but we don't know if Cam has Bitcoin either. He is, retired military. He has a new job. He's, maybe got some money. We don't know. We don't know what Nancy had. I doubt it was Bitcoin, but you just don't know. So let's talk about a wrench attack. Now, in that case, and I want to start with wrench attack because wrench attack is going to be mostly, almost all the time, focused on just a monetary, goal. Okay, they just want money. There probably is no emotion on this. It's I don't want to call it a surgical attack or a surgical strike. Kidnap for ransom is typically a more surgical strike, where they get in. It's very quick. They keep the person that they kidnap. They usually keep them safe because that is their leverage. Okay. They give information. They may leave a note. They will communicate right away. They don't want to hang on to that person. The longer a kidnap for ransom perpetrator hangs on to the victim, the more likely it is that they're going to get caught. They're going to keep their communication. I'm sorry, I'm just seeing something. Let me put this up here. Lazy Days. Hi, Lazy Days. Did you hear 857 and criminal network streamers charges are dropped? Waiting for Juice and Juanita. They upped her parking ticket to misdemeanor. Things are going to start moving fast shortly. Yes. I think Juice may have a harder time only because they have on video. I'm not convinced he was resisting arrest, but I know he was arguing, but I'm not going to make an opinion on that. I just feel like because there's more video on him and he came a second time, I'm not sure if that one's gonna be more complicated, but I'm so happy. If 857 is on here, a criminal network, if anyone is on here, congratulations. I'm so happy to hear that. And tomorrow's Derek Colella, and we're going to talk about that a little bit because that features into our third theory about the family. So again, with the wrench attack, the kidnappers, they're going to go in very surgical, very unemotional. They're going to go in, they're going to take the victim. They're going to keep the victim safe. They're going to communicate. Alex, yes. They're going to communicate and have a way of back and forth communication with the family. And it's going to be very open communication, and it's not going to be notes to the media. So sorry, I'm just looking at some of the notes. Thank you so much for chatting. I appreciate everybody being interactive. I love all your little nuggets because I take them all to heart. I read all your comments too. So they keep the victim safe, and they're not going to go to the TV station. They're not going to go to TMZ, and it's going to be a very quick transaction. Again, they need to make it quick. They don't want to get caught, and bada boom, bada bing. But the wrench attack, again, is definitely going to be unemotional. We don't know if this is a wrench attack. Okay. We don't know because, you know, typically, I don't want to say that they typically don't kill the proxy victim because it's happened before. I mean, there's a gruesome story when I read, when I did a dive into wrench attacks. And yes, I read that article from Certic. And Certic actually talked about some of the most notable wrench attacks in the past. There was one in Asia where they actually took the millionaire and he ended up dead and they buried him vertically. I mean, it's really creepy. I mean, no, Zosha, the crime fighting kitty, she's wanting to get up here and I don't want her to. Okay. So they can take it too far. Okay. I'm not going to say wrench attacks don't, but the majority of them are, again, they're going to just cause enough damage to get that Bitcoin password or the money, and then they're out of there. Okay. No, Zosha, the kitty, go fight crime over there. Okay. So, I'm so distracted tonight because of Zosha. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate everything. Well, we're going to get there. C931, C931. We're going to get there. You know, I am thinking that it's less and less a wrench attack because, again, the reason behind tonight's discussion is money versus emotional. And this has not felt monetary. Okay. And I am going through, you know, three major theories. And the first one is wrench attack. The second one is going to be revenge or retaliation. And then the third one is family. Okay. And revenge, retaliation, and family, that definitely goes more into emotional than monetary. So, you know, wrench attack's very simple. And there just isn't anything showing that money was the main target, the main goal. I really felt like it was going that way for a while. And if you have, watched Crime Crunchies and myself, you'll know I'm going down the wormhole, okay? I'm going to swish, swish, swish. I'm going where the evidence kind of takes us. And we're all just getting breadcrumbs, okay? We're all just getting breadcrumbs, but I am not going to stay on one theory. I am happy to be wrong. I'm happy if this is solved and everything I ever said was wrong. I don't have to be right. I just want it solved, okay? But in the meantime, we're going to go down logical paths that may make sense. And we're going to work through all of those and see which ones fit together, okay? So, I think that while Wrench Attack still needs to be left on the table, I think that as far as, monetary and emotional, this feels more emotional, less monetary. So probably dialing back the Wrench Attack. Although if the perpetrator is from Mexico, and if they took her back to Mexico, I have to feel like that would be more likely a Wrench Attack if someone from Mexico is involved. The only way, in my opinion, someone from Mexico is involved is if they were hired to get rid of Nancy for a reason. And that could be the revenge, retaliation, or it could be family. I'm not saying which. We don't know which. But if someone from Mexico is involved, I think it's more likely Wrench Attack, and it could be just the location being close. Maybe seeing Savannah doing that segment on the Today Show. Somebody get an idea somewhere that Nancy lived there and is connected to. Could be someone who worked in a restaurant, could be the car dealer, because hello, ding, ding, ding. So many cars, car dealers, definitely. I would not be surprised if this dealership is still somewhere in the mix, guys. Okay. And there are folks from other countries working at these smaller car dealerships. And somebody wrote in a comment, and if you do comment after the live, you'll know I've read it because I always like it and I always give you a heart. So you always know when I've read your comment, okay? Somebody commented that Zach may have a brother who looks similar to him that works at the car dealership, the MG Motors. I don't know. Again, it's all speculation. I don't try to state anything as fact. I will repeat things if it makes, sense, or it could be, tied in somehow. So I will repeat, but again, just my disclaimer is this is all for entertainment purposes. And we're all just trying to, come up with something. Okay. We're trying to come up with something because we're going crazy. We just want Nancy found. And I'm going to talk about the Cajun Navy tonight. And I'm just on fire about Nanos and his mayonnaise jar. Although I appreciate Chris Nanos Mayonnaise sponsoring tonight's segment. So thank you, Chris. And I'm going to end the evening by giving you Chris Nanos' favorite mayonnaise sandwich. So you guys can look forward to that. Please stay and watch the video all the way to the end and you'll get that yummy recipe that he likes to eat. Okay, so Wrench Attack is pretty simple. I would say, and I'm looking at my notes if anybody's wondering, why is she looking down? I'm looking at my notes, okay? I was not in my Crime Crunchy lair last night. I was I've been traveling for work a lot. I have been sublishing as publisher for a newspaper, and I'm back in my Crime Crunchy lair. So I wrote notes today so I could be prepared. Okay, so I think if it is a Wrench Attack and someone from Mexico, that would make sense. If it's someone from Mexico, they also could be a hire for murder. And Dr. Gary Brucato had mentioned in one of his early profilings that this could easily be murder for hire. And that's a motive that we've not really talked about. I've only mentioned it a couple times. I do have a slide of hire for murder, murder for hire in my motive deck that I talked about months ago. But it could be someone hired somebody to get rid of Nancy because she was in the way of something. Okay. And does it have to be money? Maybe not. Could it be jealousy? Could be. So it could be emotional. It could be money. Most of the time when they get rid of somebody, it's because they're wanting something, money, the inheritance is taking too long, or they need them gone for whatever reason. Okay. So let's go into revenge and retaliation. Now, this is one of the very first theories, that after going to Nancy's house and seeing where it was, and learning and feeling that this was not random, some things were coming out at that time. And I immediately, my first really that I stuck with for weeks, this is revenge, this is retaliation. I really felt like somebody had been communicating with Savannah, because again, there was no surprise on Cam and Savannah at that time that we had heard. There was no surprise that mother had been taken for kidnap. Okay. Again, if your first knee-jerk reaction is, oh, my mother's been kidnapped for ransom, there was a prior threat, and a prior threat comes with either awareness of something or communication. Now, the awareness could be in Savannah's safety risk training, because with the Today Show, apparently she has some sort of security detail. And I am positive that they train these, high level anchors on being safe from stalkers, keeping their family safe, being aware, what they need to do. I'm positive that they have probably a complete training program that they go through with new people, or they refresh every year as part of their training. And they probably made Savannah aware of these wrench attacks long before we ever heard about it. Okay. Just as part of her risk assessment training. So that would be awareness, where Savannah or Cam had heard of these and they talked about it. And it's like, oh crap, they got us. They got mom. They're going to want money. Again, there was no surprise. No surprise. Well, there was surprise, but they immediately went to kidnap for ransom. And the only other way, the second way after awareness, is communication. And my first thing of the family knowing why Nancy was taken, and I still back that the family knows exactly why Nancy was taken. They're not telling anyone, obviously, but if there was communication, this person's very patient, very patient. And I felt very strongly that they could have been communicating with Savannah through like a proton mail, email, or like signal, something that's encrypted and hard to trace, some way that they communicated with her and probably wanted something. And with revenge, retaliation, it doesn't have to be money. It could be attention. This person likes attention. But if she didn't do whatever they needed her to do, whatever that is, okay, then if they are this wolf in sheep's clothing, okay, then they're going to do revenge, and this person's ruthless. And the many ways in which this person stuck Savannah, if this is revenge retaliation, it's got to go down in the books. As many ways as this person hurt her by taking her mother, by the amount of time it would have taken her to prep for, opening ceremonies of the Olympics, and the planning and the studying, and just, getting the family set up for her to be gone, the travel, just working, going crazy. Now we know she had Wordle on the books as well. And, taking the mother's dead, could have been stalking her, the Olympics, just putting all this guilt on her, the fact that she is a destroyed human being. If you have not picked that up, she is completely destroyed, that the weight of this is all on her shoulders. And regardless of what happens at this point, I feel like she feels that she has led to this outcome in some way. Okay. So with revenge and retaliation, it could be money. It could be that somebody wanted money from her, but I still feel it's emotional. When we're looking at those, I still feel that's more emotional because they never got any money. Okay. And the wrench attack, they never got any money. Okay. And this whole thing, I mean, again, there's a big difference between kidnap and a financial crime and wire fraud and, FBI, Fed charges, totally different than murder, completely different animal. Okay. Do I think that people behind this porch guy could definitely go to murder? Sure. Okay. Totally could see that. But with revenge, retaliation, I still feel like that could be more emotional. Okay. I still feel like there's a level of attention because we have to tie it back to the fact that these ransom notes went through TMZ and the Tucson station. This is not a regular situation. So something here is just bizarre. Okay. And nothing of these three theories, there isn't any one of these theories where things completely match up. You guys all have to agree. I mean, if we're talking about like spokes on a bicycle, nothing's fitting 100% on any of these theories, no matter how we peel it back. It feels like there's something missing. Wrench attack. Okay, they didn't get the money. Why would they again target an 84-year-old? That doesn't seem very smart. Maybe they've been successful in the past, but the revenge retaliation, what did they want? Did they just want Savannah to hurt? They sure did. They succeeded there. Okay. They succeeded in hurting Savannah. I do still feel like Savannah is definitely at the epicenter of all of this. And definitely with revenge retaliation, wanting her to hurt is I think more of this is getting Savannah to hurt than even the money. And I don't even feel like it's 50-50. I don't feel like it's 50% money, 50% hurt. If I were to give this, I mean, I almost want to say 60-40, 60% trying to hurt, 40% money, which then gets into our third, which is probably what we're going to end up spending more time on tonight. And that's family. And looking at what is going on tomorrow, apparently Derek Colella has his court date. And I don't know that we're going to learn very much from it. I think that Sleuth Intuition looks like they are going to be live streaming it. Maybe 857 is. I'm sure that JLR, people are going to be streaming it. I don't know if JLR is going there, but I'm sure we'll be able to watch it. I will be watching it. I just feel like what we need to take most out of tomorrow, and tell me if you disagree with this, but in my mind, the less we hear tomorrow, the more over the target Derek Colella is. Now, let me know what you guys think about that. The less we hear about the case, the details tomorrow, I feel like if he's connected to the big picture and someone involved with the big picture, then we're not going to get any details tomorrow. That's what my gut is telling me. If we hear a lot of details and everything is laid out and we get all the goods, then he probably isn't connected. And he could just be a scammer. I have to see what time it is. I thought it was 10 o'clock Central because it's going to be in Arizona, and that might be 8 a.m. And that could just be what time. And hi, Joe. Thank you. I checked into Sleuth Intuition, and that's where I saw that he's live streaming this tomorrow, 10 a.m. Central. I'm on Central Time. So 8 a.m. he's going to start streaming it. And I don't know if it's federal. So they don't have cameras in usually federal. So they might just be out on the sidewalk. I don't know that it's going to be live streaming. If it's federal, supposedly they don't. Okay. If it's just state, then sometimes they will. So again, let me back up because this is a thought that I had kind of was thinking about today that just kind of hit my mind again. And again, let me know what your thoughts are on this as far as tomorrow goes. I feel like the less details we get, that's going to be a clue. I think that's going to be our best clue. So honestly, tomorrow, I don't want details. I don't want to hear all the ins and outs of Derek Colella. Because if that's the case, then honestly, I feel like most of the evidence is kind of pointing back to the family right now. Okay, I don't want to be mean. But and if we hear details, then it'll clear him. If we get enough details, I don't know if they can, maybe there's a way that they can creatively share details and still not share details. So I don't know. Maybe I'm fishing here. Maybe I'm fishing, but I'm hoping that we get some way of kind of knowing where things are going tomorrow. Too much of a coincidence. So I do want to talk about Derek Colella when we talk about the family, because when I was thinking today about the family, this whole text with Derek right after Nancy was taken, and there's just no way somebody is randomly texting both people, where's a Bitcoin? They're waiting for it. And, something not be, there's just never in my life will I ever get a text. Never in my life will I ever get a text that says that, because I just don't, I wouldn't be dealing with anything like that. But okay, so let's just go down a path for a moment. Okay, I'm just breaking this down in my head. So let's say this period of time before Nancy is taken, Annie and Tommaso, for whatever reason, need money. They owe someone money. Okay, they owe someone a great deal of money. A Bitcoin is what, $58,000 right now? So 58,000 is a far cry, one Bitcoin, than the $4 to $6 million, because there was a range in the ransom notes. They wanted, if you pay by Friday, it's 4 million. If you pay by Monday, it's 6 million, which was just weird to begin with. Okay. But let's just say they needed money. Annie and Tomato, I like Tomato, they needed money. They owe someone money. We don't know, gambling, whatever. They owe someone money. Derek Colella is aware of this third party that they owe money to. It could be in a band, it could be an acquaintance of Derek saying, hey, where's the freaking Bitcoin? They're waiting on the Bitcoin. Okay. So Annie and Tomato somehow hatched this plan with Nancy involved. Okay. They come up with this cockamamie plan. Was their intention to just kidnap Nancy, scare the bejesus out of her, and get this $4 to $6 million, pay the Bitcoin back to whoever they owed the money to, and then return Nancy? Was that what the plan was? If the family is involved, we really need to think about this, okay? What's the angle? If that is what they needed, then that's completely monetary. That's not emotional. She's a means to an end, okay? If that's the plan, they freaking screwed up and they hired the wrong guy because they killed her. And that was not part of the plan. And in this case, Annie is letting Savannah take the emotional fall because this is all on Annie. This is not on Savannah. And Savannah is destroyed thinking that it's her wealth and fame that did this to her beautiful mother. Okay, so there's more betrayal. If this is about money, there's more betrayal. If this is on Annie, this is on Tomato. Okay, so let's think about this. Let's go a step further on this trajectory. They need money. They hatch a plan. They get Nancy. Oh, we're going to get the money by Monday. You guys, we know we're going to get the money by Monday because that's what the note says. But then Nancy dies. They don't get the money. There's no proof of life. There is no money. They got no money. So if they owed money to someone, Derek Kalala, hey, you owe people money. Where's the Bitcoin? They didn't get the money. Now what? Did that debt just go away? Did someone say, oh, wow, I see what happened now. I see your mom just died. Yeah, never mind. You don't owe us the money anymore. If the family had to give someone money, that still exists. That mortgage, that loan has not been paid, guys. And with her missing, it could take years before they get a judge to sign off that she's dead. And for any insurance or paid on death accounts, you have to have a death certificate in order for insurance to pay out. If there's a 401k or retirement account, an IRA, a paid on death checking account, nobody can touch that. The worst they could probably have done is used her credit cards fraudulently for a couple days. And the credit card company will send them a nasty gram. And technically, if she's not dead, they don't have to pay it back. Okay. Because they don't know. I mean, it could take years for them to get a judge to sign that she's dead. So if this was money with the family, the debt's still there. And, Annie and Tomato have not been seen at their home in like 2 or 3 weeks now. But somebody commented that they'd heard that they travel to Italy every summer. If they're traveling to Italy, especially now, that takes a lot of money. Airfare is not cheap. The euro, wherever they're, if for weeks, I mean, that takes some money to go to Italy for 2 or 3 weeks, in 2026. So let me know what you guys are thinking. I mean, have you gone down the road of, if the family did this to pay back this Bitcoin, there's no money. They haven't gotten any money. They would have had to have broken into mom's checking account, and Lord only knows how much is there. So They still owe someone money. If they're gone, are they in hiding? If they're gone, how is this affecting Savannah? Does Savannah have any inkling that her sister or her brother-in-law could be involved? The other way that we could look at this is, again, we kind of touched on it, on with the family, more emotional could be just tired of taking care of mom, all the stress. We don't get any extra. Savannah's always been the golden child. She got everything after dad died. I've got the shit end of the stick. She's in New York. She's going to Italy for the Olympics. I'm over here counting pills out every 2 weeks, calling mom every night, reminding her, don't forget to take your stuff. Don't forget to take your pills. We got to get this bill set up. We need to pay this. We need to do that. The landscaper's coming, and, the arguing, I'm sure she's a lovely lady and her mind was sharp, but there's still stress. Okay. They could have wanted Nancy to do something and Nancy's not going to do it, or Nancy could have wanted them to do something and they weren't going to do it, or they could feel entitled to more. Why don't we get more? How come we are living paycheck to paycheck and everyone else is high on the hog? Cameron's high on the hog. Savannah's high on the hog. I'm stuck here driving 20 minutes back and forth to my mom's, bringing the mail in every freaking other day. Why, where's my extra? Where's my extra? Feeling entitled and jealous against Savannah. Well, I'm going to get her. I'm going to get her. Guess what, Savannah? Mom's got to go. Mom's got to go. We don't know. I'm certainly not saying that that's, I'm thinking scenarios here, folks. Not pointing the finger. I'm just going through scenarios. A lot of us have taken care of our parents and have enjoyed doing that and loved and honored to take care of them because they took care of us, but it still can be hard. There's no ticker tape parade. There's no glam night taking care of mom. So if it's involving family and it's emotional, then this could be seething resentment. It could be seething resentment just at how someone got the short end of the stick and someone got a better end of the stick. Okay, this is all speculate. I'm just talking about life. Looking at things and seeing how they could fit in. Okay? Not judging. Even if somebody, started resenting their own mother for taking care. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, if this is family and it's emotional, what's the motive behind that? And the only thing I could think, if it's not monetary, per Dr. Gary Brucato, is removing the problem. Okay? That's where you get murder for hire. And with Annie working at that community nonprofit near the park, she could have outreach where she deals with, unsavory people, trying to help them, reform people. You don't know, okay? Tommaso is in the band. Apparently she does dark poetry. He does dark lyrics, poetry, whatever. We don't know. Is she Wiccan? I don't know. Okay, I have no idea. But does she have access to unsavory personalities? Yes, she does. She does. Just with what she does and her outreach program, reform program. Okay. Well, and Millie Kay, this is one of the things that, that I talked about last night is if they, if they wanted to do what I could consider a soft stage. And when I say soft stage, that's not a technical term. That's me talking about a staged performance kidnapping where mom's going to be okay. We just got to get some money. We have a deadline. We tried asking mom for money. Mom said no. Keep in mind, in Savannah's memoir, she talked about when they were little, the aunt would come down, the crazy aunt would come down and kidnap them and, take them in, I think she said, a station wagon in the car. Up to Phoenix, and then they'd stop at a payphone and call mom and say, "Oh, auntie, whoever kidnapped us." And mom would go, "Oh, no, I hope you guys come back." And then they'd come back in a day or two. And it was something they did a lot. So there's definitely kidnap. Okay. And again, going back to Cam and Savannah immediately going to kidnap for ransom. If Savannah had recently had her risk assessment training with NBC and had learned about wrench attacks and had shared that information with Annie and Cam, maybe she just shared it as, "Oh, you guys, you've got to hear what people are doing. You need to hear what the latest is." Okay. It could have been something that Annie thought, "Okay, we're desperate. We're in a pinch. I got to get some money." So a soft staged kidnapping where it was a big plan. It was a safe plan. It was just to simply elicit, a ransom, but it went out of control and then things went to hell in a handbasket. So yeah, I'm sure there has to be someone in the history of mankind that soft staged some sort of kidnapping to get some sort of result. Okay. Maybe it is, there's probably a ton of reasons why a family would emotionally do something. Did Annie have a breakdown, a mental breakdown, a mental break? Did Tomasa, was their marriage in trouble? Was there coercive control, one person to the other? Was Tommaso wanting all her attention? Again, I'm just talking scenarios. If there's coercive control from Tommaso to Annie, speculation, I'm just going through human scenarios. Again, I have to repeat myself. Hey, Criminal Network, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that so much. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. I am a subscriber of yours as well. So, and I lost my train of thought. I was just like, boop. Okay. So with coercive control, if somebody is a dominant, controlling, usually they're narcissistic, they have to have their way. It's only their way. People like that do not want you to disagree with them. They don't want you to argue with them. You can't tell them no. They will fight with their family members. They will fight with their own mother. They will fight with their own grandmother. People who use coercive control are very, very difficult to live with. And you're in constant defense mode and you're walking on eggshells constantly around them. We don't know what kind of dynamic Annie has with Tommaso. Okay. Could Tommaso have forced something, didn't like something? Could Tommaso have put Annie in sort of a middle situation where she reluctantly knows something, saw something? Did he keep it away from her? I mean, it could be that. It could be Tommaso doing something and keeping it away from Annie. Annie might have a blabbermouth. Okay. Annie might see all the signs and just not see all the signs. She could be very naive. Okay. People with coercive control will also, they'll have affairs, but what they do is they'll find a submissive partner that, maybe not all the lights are on at home, and they are able to carry on almost a second entire lifestyle. That's the one with the second family. Okay. These people exist. They're walking amongst us right now. Okay. So at the casino, addictive personalities, narcissistic, you can't argue with them. That type of person, they're going to find a partner who's broken somehow, who's codependent, who is not street smart, who they can control, somebody who they can break down easily, usually doesn't have self-esteem, and they can just control the heck out of them. And it might do things right in front of them, and they don't pick up the signs, might see signs, and later on look back and go, oh my God, that was going on this whole time. Are you kidding me? Annie could completely be a victim. If she doesn't know anything about this, she could be a victim of her partner. And it happens all the time. Yeah. And, and they have to be, they have to be built up, and they have to be the most important person in the room. They have to be the smartest person in the room. And I don't know anything about Tommaso. I'm literally talking about scenarios, people, of how the family, how Annie and Tommaso could be behind this. Okay. There's many different ways that they could be behind this. And this one I'm just talking about right now is really, Annie not being aware of something that might have been going on. But like Dr. Gary Bricado has talked about before, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing, somebody who could appear completely normal and sociable, but ruthless. And regardless of that, if family is involved in this, I feel like at this point, they have let Savannah take the entire emotional toll of this entire fiasco. Because just from looking at that interview with Hoda, Savannah blames herself. She can't even go there. She can't even really go there mentally, that she has caused this to happen to her mother. And if the family, and when I say the family, A&T, if they're behind this, either one of them in any combination, they have completely destroyed her and have completely put this on her. And so if this is the case and it does come out, she's got a double whammy. She has a double whammy where that might put her over to where she just got back to work. This could set her back. This could really, really set her back to the point where she may not be able to work if she finds out that her sister has done this to her and to Cameron. This could really destroy them. And again, all speculation, just talking about different theories. So, going back to Derek Kalala, we've got his court date tomorrow. Again, if you're just joining us, I'm very interested to see if we're going to hear a lot of details tomorrow, or if we're not going to hear any details at his court date or from his court date tomorrow. I feel like if we don't hear any details at all, he could be over the target. And that could be an indication that the prosecution, and this is federal, but the prosecution is not going to have anything leaked at all if he's over the target. And if he is connected to A&T and they're involved with this at all, we're not going to hear anything. So that could be an indication tomorrow that he's over the target and that there is a connection. He could have gotten a plea if he knows stuff. He could have totally gotten a plea. Now, of course, people have said he's not involved. We're not going to know. We're not going to know anything for sure until after this is solved, God willing that this is solved. And again, like I say, if you're just joining us, I could totally be wrong on everything that I speculate about, and I'm happy to be wrong. I just want to know what happened. I don't care. Okay. I'm just helping us walk through, what could possibly have happened. So I think I've beat that dead horse and yapped enough. What I want to do now is I want to talk about the Cajun Navy. United, where's the video? All right, I'm going to watch this video, so just bear with me. So if you're new to my channel, when I start sharing my screen, that's your clue that if you have not subscribed, like, and hit the bell, this is your chance. This is absolutely your chance to do it. This is the Cool Kids Club. I have a sponsor tonight. Just to remind everybody, my sponsor tonight is a Pima County Sheriff Department Sheriff Chris Nanos with his favorite mayonnaise. He's got mayonnaise that has a high melting point that he can put it in his Corvette and drive around all over Tucson. The bottle is ergonomically correct so he can strap his little seatbelt over it. And if you guys wait till the very end of this video, I will share with you the disgusting sandwich he makes with his gross mayonnaise. So, and this is all made up. I have nothing else to do, so I think about these things. All right. Thank you for subscribing. Let's watch this video on the Cajun Navy discussing the Guthrie case. And this was on, I believe, last night. Fingers crossed. I think this was from last night. And we have an ad. So talk amongst yourselves.
1 second, you know it's all protected. And then...
So as we get through this ad, apparently Cajun Navy made a statement about Sheriff Chris Nanos actually getting back with them for the search. So let's see what we can learn.
Cajun Navy Vice President, great to see you. So you are not in Arizona right now. You are in Minnesota. I can see you're in your car, lots of lightning behind you. What are you doing up there?
Yeah, so I got talked into following some of our storm chasers up here, and we just intercepted a tornado outside of Hitterdal, Minnesota. You'll probably see that report come out of the National Weather Service if it hasn't already. But we're out here following some lines of convection, and hopefully be here if it hits any populated areas.
All right. Well, we will certainly pay attention to that. But let's get to what we had you on to talk about tonight. The Cajun Navy, of course, for months has been trying to help Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos. You submitted a detailed plan of how you would assist in the search. You said, we're not trying to get in the way. We just want to give you extra resources to find Nancy Guthrie. Can you tell us some of the ways you think you'll be able to help and why do you think it's still being rejected?
Well, I don't know exactly how many times it was rejected. We do know that there was a sort of like a blanket declination from the sheriff's office to accept any outside help. As far as, what we do, what we could bring to the table, mostly surrounded our ability to deploy canine teams and drone teams to the area. We really felt strongly that there was a good chance that she could have ended up somewhere along the border just because there's a lot of human remains that get found down there. We have a lot of people who are familiar with that area and are good at searching. And so again, just to be a force multiplier, extra set of eyes, ears, and hands and feet at this point, just to try to bring some closure to the Guthrie family. And it makes it even harder when you see Savannah on TV all the time and knowing what she's going through. She's putting on a professional face, but behind her eyes, you can tell, she's still really suffering.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely awful. As she says, she's in agony. Her whole family's in agony. And still very few answers about what has happened to Nancy Guthrie. But, in terms of what has been happening with the investigation, and clearly there's still no arrest for a suspect. We haven't heard much in terms of developments in this case. What do you think the Cajun Navy could do that the Sheriff's Department has either not done or still needs help with outside of what you just laid out? I mean, there's been a lot of conversation and disappointment, both from local law enforcement and from the FBI about the way this investigation has been handled from the beginning. Allegedly leads not followed up on, not enough search even directly behind the house. Neighbors who say that, they believe that this is going nowhere as a result of the media no longer really being in the neighborhood and pressuring the Sheriff's Department. So what kind of hope can you give those who are looking for answers, and especially to Savannah and her family?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to frame it in the context of a juxtaposition of what we would do versus the sheriff's office, because we're not privy to everything that they've done or what they may not have done. But like I said, we're very good at search and rescue. We have a lot of resources we could have brought to the area, other partner groups that we work with in the area or willing to come to the area and help us search. I think early on, when we were closer to the abduction date, it would have been a lot more beneficial. At this point, I mean, I hate to say it, but at this point, you just be looking for remains, which would be valuable to the family to be able to have that closure. But that for some reason, they just decided they were not going to take the outside help. So we just kind of went back to what we're doing. We're preparing for hurricane season 2026. And right now we're at the tail end of tornado season 2026. So the Cajun Navy is doing Cajun Navy things.
So in terms of people who may be watching this who say, well, the Sheriff's Department they're law enforcement professionals. Who is this group, the Cajun Navy, who thinks that they should come in and be involved here? Can you talk about your professionalism and the type of training you have with your volunteers?
Yeah, we put a lot of resources into training our volunteers, but also you have to understand that a lot of the tier one volunteers that we use in operations like this mostly are either current or former law enforcement or combat veterans, people who have a lot of experience in high trauma situations, high pressure situations. So it's not just, like a guy taking a week off of work that normally sells insurance, which is nothing wrong with that. I'm not down on people that sell insurance. I'm just saying that people that don't have any experience at all, that's not the kind of people we would bring to this operation. Everybody that we had lined up has experience doing this and has been successful in the past helping us recover missing persons. So we have a pretty good track record, we believe, for being a civilian nonprofit organization. We're proud of our track record of finding people both alive and people that are no longer alive, but at least there's a recovery there.
Right.
And so we're always willing.
So here's a problem. And somebody had Millie. Hi, Millie. If they didn't search, then somebody knew she was deceased. Correct. But here's the problem. In my opinion, they still needed to search. And they needed to search to get her body. Even if they knew she was dead, because that's what I thought. I'm like, okay, well, now sent the dogs away because obviously they knew she was dead by that first or second note that came in early on. Okay. But she is a human being. And they would have had so much more opportunity to have found her in February. It was early February. It wasn't hot. They would have had actual body to get before the animals scattered. They could have seen the birds flying overhead. There would have been more body to get. Now, if they find bones, they'll be bleached and they will be spread out because of animals. It's much harder to find a scattered, bleached skeletal remains in the desert than it would a rotting corpse. And I'm sorry, I don't want to be disgusting. It's just, this is the truth. This is what we're looking at. This is a woman's body. They owed her some respect to have found her, in my opinion. And, as far as the search goes, I've talked about this before, and I don't know how to do this. This is something that I feel very passionately about. I'm going to share something right now. I put, a creative together because, this is a treasure hunt. $1.2 million, $1 million paid by the family for the return of her body. It's very hot. But by the time it's fall, if we could get every search group coordinated on a Google Drive spreadsheet with their latitude and longitude, and we knew where people have searched, we could get organized, because I don't think that there's any centralized search grid that's been coordinated. I don't even know how to get this. I don't have contacts. I emailed 857. He's busy, he's dealing with his court stuff. I don't know Criminal Network. I want to email Chris McDonough. This might be the dumbest idea in the entire world, but if we could get a centralized lat long of where people have searched, this is a treasure hunt, and the treasure is Nancy. And you can't tell me that people haven't gone out looking because they know there's a reward. So I know it's probably the dumbest freaking idea in the entire world, but I don't know. What can I say? All right, then the last thing, because I know we all have to head over to TIR. They're hogging my 7 p.m. Central. I'm now having to look every day. What is TIR doing and when are they going to? All right, so let's quickly. All right, people, FBI makes bombshell discovery about Nancy Guthrie ransom notes. Again, it basically someone has an FBI official, okay, a FBI official told Reuters that they're fake. An FBI informant told Maureen O'Connell that they have a lead and she's 75% sure they're going to get the guy, the porch guy, and then the whole thing will crack open. There's a contact that Brian Enton has that says they don't have a lead. And I'm not saying anything. I love all of those people. My point is, I don't believe any FBI official said they're fake. I don't think any FBI official said they're real. I don't think any FBI official's doing anything. The only thing that I kind of gave credence to was Howard Blum in his article. If indeed Howard Blum printed an article and included more information from one of the ransom notes that had not been made public in the beginning, all of a sudden, oh, Shazam, there's more information from the ransom notes. Oh, Howard Blum, where'd you get that? Oh, well, I have a source. My sources was the FBI. Okay, if he really had real information, then, and the FBI really gave Howard Blum this information from the ransom notes, whether they're real or not, that's tickling the wire. And it worked because it got more crazy stuff happening. It had been really, really quiet. Legacy media had been ignoring this whole thing. All of a sudden, Howard Blum comes out with more information. And if it's true, they were tickling the wire because nothing had been happening. But, a writer is going to protect their source. Writers have gone to jail protecting their source. Do you even really have to have a source? It's hard to say. So I don't know that I believe that they're fake. I think that there could be a lot of truth to it because, again, Harvey, not that I trust Harvey, but he says that he sincerely believes they're written by the same person. They have the same cadence, the same grammatical style, the same Bitcoin wallet address. Nobody's going to know that wallet address. It only changed recently. And again, the Bitcoin wallet address could have changed because the feds put in the McDonald's Happy Meal $152, which screwed up that Bitcoin wallet, and they had to come up with a new one. If they had to get a new wallet because they can't, that it's violated with the 152 McHappy money, they screwed up that wallet. You can't touch it now. I want the Bitcoin. Here's a new address. That's the only reason why, other than it being a different person. Okay. So if it's the same person, they had to come up with a new wallet because of the $152, or it's a different person. But the writing style, the grammatical correctness, the spelling, the punctuation, that is a fingerprint. And Harvey came out again today. I'll go into it more. We'll probably take a look at it again tomorrow. But yeah, real ransom notes would be backed by proof of life. They didn't have proof of life because she died. And then it turned into, give me a Bitcoin and I will lead you to the kidnappers and to her body. And so now, again, it's turned into not a ransom, but more of a reward for information. All right. Well, there you go. If you guys hung around, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for all your comments. I sincerely appreciate it. I know people really genuinely care about Nancy and want her found. I want her body found. At this point, justice needs to happen. But even if they don't, honestly, what day do you feel better? What day do you jump up and scream and high five and body bump? The day that somebody gets arrested or sentenced, or the day they find Nancy Guthrie's remains? Tell me the truth, because I'll tell you right now, if I hear they found her remains and they know it was her, that's a big day. That is a treasure hunt, big time. Okay, so if you have not guessed, my sponsors are made up, completely made up. It's just to make fun of Sheriff Nanos. Last night it was Sheriff Chris Nanos deodorant because he rides around on that hot Corvette, all steamy. Tonight is his mayonnaise. He doesn't have mayonnaise, but if he did have a mayonnaise, his favorite sandwich would be white Wonder Bread, mayonnaise, and a nasty slice of onion. And that would be it. He would just eat that. Okay. So that is our sponsor, is Chris Nanos mayonnaise. All right. And it's the kind of mayonnaise he can just strap in to his Corvette and just ride around with all the ladies looking at him because he's so hot. And that's a joke. Okay. There you go. It's my pretend time. All right, you guys. Well, I hope you have a wonderful evening. I will be back. It's 4th of July weekend. I'm going to be in and out, but I'll be here. I hope to see you all. Please, again, make sure that you are subscribing, hitting that notification bell, because I only do lives and I want you here. I don't want your money. I just want you and your eyeballs, and I appreciate it. So until the next time, I will catch you on the flip side. Toodaloo.